And she was like, oh, yeah? And I'm like, yeah, yeah. And she's like, yeah, yeah. And then she just pushed me down.
This rapper sat down, looked straight into the camera, and began revealing secrets she had kept hidden for years. Secrets so heavy they had the power to shatter everything. By the end, everything you thought you knew about her would be turned upside down. Nicki Minaj. Most people know the surface story. The wigs, the alter egos, the record-breaking hits, and the way she dominated the rap industry for well over a decade. But beneath all of that glamour was a family quietly crumbling. And when the truth finally surfaced, it did so in the most devastating way imaginable. Nicki's older brother, Jelani Maharaj, was convicted in 2017 of sexually abusing his then 11-year-old stepdaughter. The abuse reportedly occurred repeatedly over an 8-month period in 2015, taking place at his Long Island home while the girl's mother was away working. The victim bravely took the stand and recounted her experience in full detail. Even more heartbreaking, her younger brother, just 8 years old at the time, had witnessed one of the assaults and later testified about what he saw. According to investigators, Jelani had threatened the young boy, warning him that if he said a word to anyone, he would never see his mother again. The DNA evidence became one of the most hotly debated aspects of the entire trial. This is where things grew complicated. The prosecution's own DNA expert, Dr. Erica Zamak, testified that the results were inconclusive. A single DNA sample taken from the girl's pajamas had returned results showing 3 separate contributors. 3 contributors on one sample does not constitute a match. That fundamentally undermined a key piece of the prosecution's argument. Yet the media told a different story entirely, and Nicki's mother, Carol Maharaj, was not the type of woman to stay quiet while the press shaped the narrative however it pleased. She had things to say, and she was going to say them.
For the people.
For the people.
Said, according to the transcript, inconclusive. Now, last time I checked, inconclusive tells me one cannot conclude or come to...
Carol also raised serious concerns about how the physical evidence was even collected. Based on her account, it was the plaintiff and her mother who came out of a room carrying the pajama pants and placed them on the bed themselves. The police never independently discovered the evidence. She made it clear this detail is documented in the official court transcripts for anyone willing to look. The defense argued the entire case was built on an extortion scheme designed to target Nicki's fortune. Carol pointed to a particularly telling moment when a social worker who had worked with the family's children testified that the younger brother, Grant, told her at school that they were about to receive $25 million. Jelani certainly did not have that kind of money, which raised an obvious question about where that child heard such a specific figure. Carol believed she knew exactly where that conversation originated. She then shared what she described as one of the most disturbing things she personally witnessed. During the period when the plaintiff's family was staying in her home, Carol said she watched the mother discipline the children using electric cords, brushes, and whatever else was within reach. What made it even more striking was that the mother allegedly confirmed this behavior herself while testifying on the witness stand in open court.
With them, I know how afraid they will be. Sometimes after a beating, they wouldn't talk for 2 or 3.
Jelani Maharaj was sentenced to 25 years to life in January 2020. Nicki reportedly covered his bail and continued supporting him financially throughout the entire legal process, which stretched on for years. The family's perspective on everything that unfolded never really received a public platform until Carol sat down for that interview. And the majority of people who followed the case simply never heard their side of the story. And this was not even the only painful chapter in Nicki's family history. Her late father, Robert Marriage, was described as a violent, drug-addicted man who physically abused her mother and once set their house on fire. Nicki has spoken openly about growing up terrified inside that home, holding on to the dream that one day she would earn enough money to pull her family out of that darkness. She got the money. The family had its own path. Missy Elliott. When people talk about Missy, the conversation usually goes straight to the visionary music videos, the production credits spread across an entire generation of classic records, and the effortless way she reshaped hip-hop completely on her own terms. What took far longer to surface was the reality of the world she came from, because the home she grew up in was anything but safe. Missy's father, Ronnie Elliott, abused her mother physically on what Missy described as a daily basis. She grew up watching her mother silently absorb that pain year after year while keeping the family together on the outside. Missy recalled seeing her mother with black eyes and a dislocated shoulder, living in constant dread of what each day might bring. She was so frightened that she refused to attend sleepovers as a child, unwilling to spend a single night away from her mother. One memory has never left her. Her father threatened the family and forced young Missy and her mother outside without clothing while Missy screamed and begged him not to harm her mother. Her mother eventually escaped that situation when Missy was 14, but the damage had already settled deep. There was also something else entirely. Beginning at age 8, a 16-year-old cousin abused her almost daily for nearly a year. She knew something was wrong, but lacked the understanding or the words to tell anyone. She carried both of those wounds silently through her entire rise to greatness. When she finally began opening up, she credited her healing to her mother and her faith.
She went open about the abuse. I was like, this is our secret. You don't tell the world what happened. And it was like, Mom, we have to let people know that we made it. She says, that's how you deal with it, Mom. You get it out in the open. I have to get these scars off of me. You need to get these scars off of you.
Having those conversations was very therapeutic. It was a major release. I can breathe now.
Missy took everything she had survived and poured it into a purpose that went far beyond music. She became a spokesperson for Break the Cycle, an organization dedicated to supporting women enduring domestic violence, and transformed both her mother's story and her own into something that could genuinely change lives. For years, the outside world had no idea any of this had been part of her journey. She has said those memories never fade and still feel as raw as the moment they were created. Every video, every chart-topping record, every electric performance was absolutely real, but none of it wiped out where she came from. Missy simply learned how to carry both things at once, the success and the scars, without letting either one cancel the other out. Lil' Kim. She built her entire image around being untouchable. That was the energy she walked into every room with, the attitude behind every interview and every record she released. What most people never saw was that fearlessness was not something she was handed. It was something she had to construct entirely on her own because the home she grew up in offered almost nothing to build on. Her father, Linwood Jones, was a former military man who brought that same rigid, controlling energy into the household and made it nearly unbearable for everyone inside. Verbal abuse, physical abuse, and a complete absence of warmth or genuine affection defined life under his roof. He ran the home like a military operation, and Kim was just a young girl trying to survive within it. The marriage eventually collapsed under that same weight. When her mother finally left, she brought Kim with her. But life outside those walls turned out to carry its own hardships in an entirely different form.